Greetings, mortal. Thunder! Lightning! Whoa, that's kind of frightening.
Hey everyone, this is Thorzord. For those of you that don't know who I am, I was on the show in the beginning for a couple months. I think the last time I was on was right before I got married. I planned on coming back after my honeymoon, but kind of kept pushing it off. And after a little time, I just kind of lost interest in MOBAs. Still enjoy playing every now and then, but ultimately just kind of moved on to other games. So episode 50. That's pretty huge. Proud of Gizmo, Multi, and TBK for sticking with it and growing an awesome community of all you gamers. Also, thanks for having me do this little monologue. Before I let you go, I need to remind you all of something very simple, yet so easy to forget. When you're pushing really hard, don't be afraid to give your D a little tap. You never know how it might change the outcome of your game. All right, that's about enough out of me. I'll give this back to the professionals. Thanks, guys.
What's up, guys? This is Smash Sword. Wanted to say happy 50th episode to the Lords of the Storm. That is unreal. You guys have been killing it, and looking forward to seeing where the show goes. Hope to see the rest of you guys in the Nexus. Peace.
This episode of Lords of the Storm is brought to you by our sponsors over at Patreon, where you, yes you, can also support the show. Just head over to patreon.com/Lords of the Storm to become a patron today. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I did those backwards, and it's okay, because you know why? It is episode 50 tonight of Lords of the Storm.
Yeah.
The big 5-0. This is
right.
the weekly Heroes of the Storm podcast for you, the true Heroes of the Storm. I'm your host, Greg Parker, a.k.a. Gizmo Zord, but you can call me Gizmo. And on this week's episode, the Heroes podcast unite to serve justice and punch each other in the faces. Li-Ming is untouched by this week's balance patch, and we discuss the Star Princess of Pain herself in this week's Hero of the Week. It is Li-Ming week. But of course, joining me this evening are some more of the Zord Lords themselves. First up, we have Mr. Kevin Ellis, a.k.a. Multi-Zord. How's it going, Multi?
It's going pretty well. You know, I actually I went to see the doctor this week, and I now have actual proof, like physical proof, that I'm a gamer nerd, like a stereotypical gamer nerd. Because
you got a hemorrhoid or something? From
no.
Okay.
No. He did a blood test, and my vitamin D levels were just a bit low. He said anywhere from 50 to 100 is normal, and I was at 15. 15. So that's just proof that I'm a vampire, I guess, and I don't know. But anyway, so the doctor got the blood work back, right? And he took one look at it and said, "This guy needs some D." And been saving that for you, Ryan. So anyway, no. Now, when I take these pills, once I get my vitamin D levels back up, I'm actually not going to need the sun anymore for anything, and it's going to be great. I'm just going to sit in this chair the rest of the time.
I have,
That is definitely one thing you could do.
I have no responses for that. We also have joining us this evening, as always, Mr. Ryan Reeder, a.k.a. TBK Zord. How are you doing, TBK?
I'm doing well. There's a new version of OBS today that made me super, super excited because it now does what XSplit does, but it's free. So that'll make my streaming life, much better. And I'm getting a new webcam. Not yet.
Yeah.
But eventually, like Friday. So of course it wasn't here in time for this. But next week, I'll be in glorious 1080p with color adjustment. Because I too probably need more vitamin D, Multi.
Yep. Go get it checked, man.
I never
Gotta be
thought
scared
about
of
it.
the sun.
If you're listening to the stream, you probably have vitamin D deficiencies. That's what we're coming to realize. So let's go all get checked and be vampires. I don't know.
It affects your bone density. It's probably.
I've never broken a bone in my life,
I
so
drink
I have
lots of
plenty
milk,
of vitamin
so
D.
I'm countering that. It's okay.
Exactly. What have you guys been up to in gaming this week? I know a lot of people's answers out there, but Multi, we'll start with you.
I mean, I'll counter with, yes, I did get a little Overwatch in today. Thank you very much. Even though I'm the only one now of the three of us to get invited to the beta. And
I mean, to not get invited?
To not get invited, right. Sorry, I said that backwards. Yeah, to not get invited to the beta. So that feels good, for sure. I'm not going to bore you with all my salt on that, but it's getting pretty salty. So,
you
but
have
anyway,
room for that.
what's that? Yeah, I know. And I might just unload in there on the Discord. No, I did play some Diablo 3 again, and some Heroes, of course. But Diablo 3 has been kind of fun. I'm playing a monk now for the first time ever. Like, I had only ever played Wizard in Diablo 3 until, I guess, last weekend when I started up on the monk. So, kind of fun to do something new and different.
Nice. I suggest, if you get bored of the monk, trying the Crusader this
Oh,
season
really?
for the Thorn build is just, it's awesome.
I keep hearing that they're the worst class. Is this not true?
It may be
Like this
now
season?
as the season has progressed on. They started out this season like super strong because the Thorn build's just OP, but
Oh, yeah.
it's pretty much you don't have to do anything. It's just when things hit you, you do area damage and everything dies.
I do like doing nothing. So,
Yeah, It's, you just run.
that's good.
Run, forest, run. TBK, how about you? What have you been up to in gaming this week?
Lots of heroes, of course. I'll save that for the free hero of the week thing. Multi knows what I'm talking about.
Oh,
He
yeah.
knows what I'm talking about. Okay.
We all know, finally, I'm sure.
Yes. Lots of XCOM 2. Oh my gosh. I have not had near as much time to play it as I've wanted to, but I actually have nothing planned for Friday. So I am going to hole up, probably make myself some like pizza rolls or something because esports, and then I'm going to play XCOM 2 like all night. I've been having an absolute blast from what I played so far. It's tons of fun. And then I did get some Overwatch in yesterday.
Yep.
I came home yesterday afternoon, and lo and behold, there was the big play button. So what can you do? I mean, I had to get in a few games, right?
Excellent.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Well, for me, so I guess it would have started off last week with when L Train gave me a key for XCOM Enemy Unknown because I'd never played any of them. I was able to hold off till Friday because he told me it was a time suck, and I hopped in. I had no idea what type of game it was or anything, and yes, it is a time suck. I think I played till like 5 a.m, and it's amazing. So I'm super excited to finish that off and get into XCOM 2. However, it might be a while before I hop back into that because I have been playing the crap out of Overwatch since yesterday, and it's so good. And I actually remember playing this time, which is the best part about it.
Yeah, that's important.
But no, the first thing I did was just hop in and check out the skins and stuff, and I was like, oh man, that Mariachi Reaper skin is sick. Got it on my 3rd loot crate.
Nice.
The Mariachi. And then also last night, I got the Bloodheart Reinhardt skin, which is like this big suit of armor with spikes on it, and he has an axe instead of a hammer, and it's red, and he has like a fiery stomach, and it's
I have
amazing.
not
pretty sweet.
been that lucky at all.
It's-
I've gotten one purple.
Really?
And it was just, yeah, that's it. That's like the best I've gotten.
I think there's
It's
only been like maybe 3 crates that
bad.
I haven't at least gotten a purple. I've been getting a lot of stuff.
Too bad they're
my
going to wipe
luck
all your
just must
stuff.
Suck. Yeah.
Have they said that they are going to wipe it?
Yes, they have.
Dang
They're
it.
gonna wipe.
That sucks. I would be
So I
okay
don't-
with
now I
it.
don't care.
I would be okay with it if they were like the stuff you unlock was known, but it's like now it's so hard to get stuff. I got something I want, and I'm not gonna be able to just be like, oh, I can just farm that out whenever it launches again. That sucks. Oh well.
They are talking about potentially actually selling those little.
They
Essentially-
have already
They
because
have
you'll
already.
be able to buy if you get a repeat of an item, you get gold, and you can also get gold from the crates, and then you'll be able to buy gold as
Oh
well.
no, I meant there's rumors of selling the crates for money.
Oh.
So there goes your bank account. What's
No,
left?
not this game.
Not this time?
I say that of course it's gonna happen. But other than that, Heroes playing a lot of Li-Ming still this week, and having a lot of fun doing our team league stuff that we do 2 times a week. So we'll continue to do that. And I have an update on my Smurf account that I mentioned a few episodes ago, and still been playing that. I think I'm like 50 games on that account, and I am already 900 points above my previous MMR. I was in the master ranking, which is apparently on Hotslogs is technically the top 1%. I know I'm not in the top 1%, so that's not what I'm saying. But it's after about 45 games, checking other people's MMRs and stuff, it's starting to level out, and everyone's fairly even with the exception every game or so. But yeah, I'm really excited to hop in Hero League with that and just see what the change is like, because, you know, again, on my main account, I'm getting anywhere from 6 points to 10 points difference when I lose or win a game now. So you just can't go anywhere. Where on that game, it's no longer in the hundreds, but it's generally, you know, 10 to 50 points.
Really?
But I still enjoy playing it, and we'll continue to test that out. But let's go ahead and hop into the show this week. So as we mentioned at the top, this is episode 50, and I believe if it's not exactly a year, it's really close. This is our year. We're celebrating our year anniversary right now with you. And holy cow, it does not seem like it's been a year.
Not even close.
Time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not only that, when just to take a little stroll down memory lane, when we started this, again, it just started as we were talking Heroes all the time and playing it because we got in it around about the same time, and we were like, hey, why don't we just record it and see if people want to listen? And here we are. It's grown insanely. It continues to grow. You guys, your support is unbelievable. I want to thank both Smash and Thor that we heard at the top of the show, who did start out this show with us, and you know, life, adulting happened, and they had to take a step back. But you know, we wouldn't be here where we're at probably without them. So it's very, very difficult to put the feeling into words, I guess. I don't know. TBK, you got anything? I'm sappy. I'm gonna cry.
It's so sappy. This is such a wonderful day. Oh gosh. No, this is pretty incredible. That's the one thing, especially when adulting, that the biggest issue is commitment, right? And so it's a lot of times really hard for people to commit to things and stick with them. And so when we started this, I was super excited, but I was just like, I really hope that we can keep it going and that everyone's got the drive to do this. And here we are, 50 episodes later, and I could not be happier with where we're at. Like the community that's come around this podcast and just like Heroes of the Storm in general is just super awesome. And I can't wait to get more involved and do more things this year, especially BlizzCon. I think that's just going to be absolutely fantastic. And now that this is all going and we've got a bunch of content coming and Blizzard's got a bunch of content going, I think that's going to be the really big thing I'm looking forward to this year now.
Yeah, I'm super excited for you guys.
And meet a bunch of people too.
Yeah,
I can't wait to meet a whole lot of people that I've met either from our community or just from the Heroes community in general.
Yeah, I'm super excited for you guys both to be able to experience BlizzCon, as I have gone the past 2 years, and like I said before, even though I probably shouldn't have gone this last year due to money stuff, I went anyways, and it's another incredible experience. But Multi,
well, you know what they say, YOLO.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
YOLO.
That's right. No, but for me, okay, I just got to say that that when we first started this podcast, we really just had no idea it was going to get this big with the community built around it and such. Like, we honestly thought that we would just be kind of hanging out, talking into mics. Maybe a few people would tune in sometimes.
My mother listening each week.
Does your mother listen?
I don't know, actually.
Okay.
I'll ask her. We'll check.
Because mine doesn't. But then again, if she did, she wouldn't understand every other word
Yeah.
we said. So there's that. But anyway, so like, and I mean, I just got to say that it's been fun to actually just build this from the ground up, because we really just kind of one day said, let's do it, and did maybe like a couple weeks of planning, and then just started recording stuff. So, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's certainly fluctuated in quality sometimes in the audio quality segments. So if you guys are going back and listening to some of the old ones, apologies there. But, you know, we made it work.
Yeah.
We figured it out.
That's how things evolve over time, right?
Yeah,
you
right.
Figure,
It's
you
all
figure
good.
stuff out. Yeah, I mean, our production values now compared to episode 1 are just like mind-blowingly.
Well, we say that now and watch because live is a whole new thing. So watch these levels
Right.
be all out of whack this week. Thanks,
true.
guys. You just jinxed it. It's all my fault.
Ah,
Yeah.
But yeah, 50 episodes. Thank you guys so much, all the listeners out there. We wouldn't be here without you. And also thank you to our Patreon supporters that have also blown our minds over these past couple weeks.
Agreed.
We're excited to get the Lords of the Lane coming back, which again will be in March. We're not doing it this month because you'll find out shortly. But let's go ahead and actually hop into the meat of the show this week. TBK, what do we got on store sales?
for store sales this week, we have Nazebo and the Jokerish themed Harlequin Nazebo skin that is terrifying and clown-like. So if you don't like clowns, don't get this skin. But if you do like clowns, then by all means,
It
get
is
this.
a cool skin, but the master
It is
skin's
a cool
better.
skin. He does his Gargantuan even has like some cool clothing, and his Ravenous Spirit's got the little jester bells and
And
stuff.
the
So
zombie
it's-
wall has all jester hats and stuff. So
Yeah, it's cool. And then Spectre Illidan, which is also a cool skin, and I believe just a patch or two ago it got a few graphical upgrades as well.
yeah, that's the one that kind of looks like the Nova Master skin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ish.
Kind
Yeah,
of
seems
robotic
like
looking
it.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That one's pretty cool. Yeah.
It's alright. It's alright. It's yeah. I don't know. I like both their master skins better. But Multi, what do we got in the free hero rotation this week? What do we have? What is it?
Oh, there's a few on the list. Let's start at the top though. We've got ETC, Johanna. There's Kael'thas. There's Lily. You could play Sergeant Hammer or the Butcher. Or at player level 5, you've got Arthas. Player level 7 is Brightwing. Player level 12 is Zeratul. And player level 15, I'm just going to let hang. The Lost Vikings. They're finally here.
What is it? Has the world ended?
I think it is.
Oh
No,
my
what
gosh.
this proves, though, is if you complain about something enough,
Yep.
it will happen. So I think we just need to complain about more things, like just let's start talking about Ragnaros every week.
Yeah.
Give us Ragnaros as a character.
It's-
yeah,
you know.
Ragnaros, please.
Yeah,
Thank you.
every week.
Clearly, this is solely because of this show that the
Oh,
Lost
yeah.
Viking. I mean, obviously.
mean,
So thank you.
Not at all, because they haven't done it since last May.
Absolutely.
No, not at all.
No, nothing has nothing to do with it.
So thank you,
Okay.
Spirian and Dustin Browder, and sorry to everyone else playing Heroes of the Storm right now for having
Sorry
to deal with this week.
all the teams who have to have a Lost Vikings while Li-Ming is still in a
So strong.
particularly broken state and getting resets constantly. We salute.
Oh yeah, that's a very good point. Now, okay, so with the Lost Vikings, I actually took a page out of your book there, TBK. We were talking about it outside the show, but I did load up an AI game in one screen and did my taxes in the other.
Yeah,
And it was great.
So this is how much I hate Vikings, guys. So they came on free week, and I literally, and I know people have been doing this for like Smurf accounts and stuff, but I literally loaded up a training game with the Lost Vikings and let it sit and let it complete, and I did 4 of those while I did my taxes, got them to level 5, and I will never touch them.
That is weak sauce. Did you at least play one game with them?
I
did
played
play,
2.
I did play 1 game with them.
See, I think
And then I was just like, I hate.
I don't think anyone likes
much-
the Vikings their first couple games, though. It's like me with Abathur. I think if you gave them a chance, that they would become very special to you. And not that you would play all the time, but that
I
you might
feel
pull out
that
here
I
and
am
there.
not going to give them a chance.
It
all.
sounds like it. You should.
I hate everything about them, stylistically and everything. I hate
Yep.
what they say when they're walking. I'm going
I
to
hate
get
what
the
they
food."
stand for.
Yeah, I don't even like their.
They
no
stand
offense,
for the start
beards.
of Blizzard Entertainment.
Yeah.
Without the Lost Vikings, we would not have Heroes of the Storm.
What about
What do you
like
mean you hate
Rock
what
and
they
Roll
stand
Racer and
for?
stuff?
Yeah, that's
What was
true.
really first? I don't even know.
I think it was Lost Vikings was first.
They serve their purpose, and now they can continue. not
You
be played by-
guys are. You need to go to the salt room.
I might.
I'm sorry. The Lost Vikings, awesome. Love them. Even though I haven't played them since they got nerfed, so maybe I'll hate them too. But yeah, it's going to be a rough week. Good thing I have Overwatch to distract me this week.
Yeah,
I might
totally.
not even encounter Lost Vikings. We'll see. But let's go ahead and move into the tournament talk this week. We've got a lot of stuff going on, TBK. So why don't you let us
Oh
know?
man, so much stuff. So first off, a reminder: Heroes of the Dorm. We talked about it before. The registration for that closes on February 18th. So if you are in college and you want to make a team for this, and I think we've got some Lords of the Storm members that are going to be taking.
I think we
part
have
in
3
the-
different teams from
Yeah.
Lord Storm community.
which is really, really cool. So we'll be rooting for those guys from the community. But yeah, February 18th is the deadline, so make sure you get your team registered before then. The online qualifiers will happen February 20th through March 6th. Then the top 64, there will be a bracket play, and like last year, they will do the fantasy bracket type stuff that you can fill out, and the closest brackets will actually win prizes, which is really cool. But that will be March 19th through April 3rd. And then the Heroic 4, a live 2-day event on ESPN2, will be broadcast April 9th and 10th. And this will be live somewhere. They have not said where
Yes.
yet.
Oh, it'll be on ESPN too, but yeah, we don't know the location.
Yeah, they will be
And-
live in a location. So if you're near the place, you can actually go see it live, which would be really, really cool.
And if
But
if
they haven't said yet.
one of our Lords of the Storm community teams wins, we expect a shout out on stage. I'm just kidding. Kind of. No, it's a
No, you-
joke. But if you want to, I
can.
won't. I'm not going to stop you,
Not going to stop you.
but it's not required. We still love you. But we'll love you more if you. No, I'm just kidding. That's too much. Okay, what else we got?
Okay, just like settle down, settle down. Okay, so the second qualifier for the spring regionals was held last weekend. There were a ton of just fantastic games, and it ended up with Cognitive and Tempo Storm going through. The third qualifier, so that's Bob Ross, Tempo Storm, Cog, and
Cloud9.
Cloud9 are all qualified so far. The third online qualifiers are actually going on right now. They were yesterday, today being Wednesday, and then tomorrow night, which will be Thursday. And the episode will actually be out. So if you hear this, you can still catch them, which is awesome. Lot of good teams going in. I think Team Blaze will make it this time. They had an epic 3-game series
Yeah.
on Sunday with Tempo Storm and barely lost their third game. So I would definitely expect to see them. 2-Arc Resurgence were both very close as well. So Kings of Blades, Alpha, I believe. So we'll probably see some of those teams end up in it. The 2 teams who finish first and second this week will go in and get added to the 4 teams who have already made it. And then there's an invitational that will pull out of the rest of the teams. They've been racking up points. So the highest points, the last ones from that, will also get invited to the Los Angeles Regional. And that will be played at the ESL Studios. They won't have a live audience, unfortunately. I know there was a lot of people that were unhappy about that who lived in that area, but they won't have a live audience, but they will be broadcasting that, of course, and there's a $100,000 prize pool on the
Nice.
line there, so that's sweet. And then the top 2 teams from that will be going to the World Spring Tournament
The
in
WSS?
Seoul, Korea. Seoul, Korea. So that's pretty cool. I assume they might be doing it there because it's easier for the Chinese teams to get passports there. Maybe.
Yeah,
So it's a huge
seems likely.
gaming hub there. It's just absolutely huge. So that's really cool. And that will be on February 27th and 28th at the ESL Studio in Burbank, California. So,
Cool.
yeah, it'll be pretty awesome. And so the last thing in tournament talk, and this is the big one. So the cat was let out of the bag a few days ago. I know the promotion has started, but for those who haven't heard, Lords of the Storm, Into the Nexus, Stormcast, and Core Heroes are teaming up to bring you the Heroes Charity Brawl. And this is a really cool thing. So hosts from all 4 of these podcasts will be getting together. We'll be doing a 3-hour stream on February 20th, Saturday, February 20th at 12 Mountain Time. And we'll be playing a ton of just really fun show match type games. Switching off the teams. It's going to be on twitch.tv/frogpants under Scott Johnson's Twitch stream. Take the place of the normal Experience Point show that he usually does with John Jagger on that Saturday. But we'll be playing a ton of show matches, and it is for raising money for Make-A-Wish. So we will be raising money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. There is a GoFundMe page set up. You can already go ahead and donate there even before the game starts or the stream starts. You can go to heroescharitybrawl.com or gofundme.com/heroescharitybrawl, and it's got all the different information there. I really hope you guys come out for that. It is going to be an absolute blast.
Can I
I'm
say it's
super pumped.
I'm really pumped too, but it's weird for me to be doing something nice that helps people. Like that's totally out of character for me. I don't. No, I'm kidding. I'm really pumped for it, and I listen to all those other podcasts at least off and on, and I just enjoy all the hosts, and I haven't gotten the chance to meet all of them yet, so it'll be fun too.
Yeah,
just to play around and.
You can't spend this money on ketchup packets or sriracha, unfortunately.
No. Dang it.
But yeah, it's going to be a good time. I know we're going to have just a whole bunch of different crazy type of game modes, like reverse drafting, where you pick the other team's picks, or ARAMs, and just try and make it as entertaining as possible. And it's going to be a really good time. I'm excited for it. And I think with all of us together, there's 11 people, so we'll probably have all 10 people playing, maybe someone casting, and switch it up. We'll see. Who knows? Things could get crazy.
Yep, you will definitely hear from all the hosts at some point during the show, though. It'll be really cool. And then at the end, there's going to be actually a little roundtable discussion with all the hosts from all the shows with some questions. So definitely tune in for that. It's going to be a blast.
I'm actually really excited for that part, because one of the things I love about Heroes of the Storm and the Heroes of the Storm podcasting community is we all support each other, and most people, you listen to one show, you listen to most of them, and everyone has different opinions on builds, heroes, all sorts of stuff around heroes, and it's just really cool to bring those all together. So I'm excited to discuss all the different strategies and stuff with the other hosts, and just kind of see where everyone stands. So I think that'll be really cool. But today, we were expecting this, and it happened again. This is the 3rd week in a row. We got another balance patch, and one of the heroes on there we were expecting to see is on there, but the Star Princess of Pain herself, Li-Ming, is not, and with a good reason, and I agree with it. She has only been out a week, and they agree she is too powerful, but they want to let it settle in, let people learn how to play against her, see if it works itself out. They are keeping their eyes on the S of Johan, and what's the other one? Do you guys know? Experian tweeted out. There's 2 talents that they're really keeping their eye on
S of Johan and Astral Presence.
Yes,
are the 2 he mentioned.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But there was a few other changes as far as assassins. Falstad is getting a boost to his hammerang. It's going from 121 to 150 and Hinterland's Blast is getting a damage increase as well from 411 to 475. And the developer comments in that just said, pretty much everyone's going the auto attack build, and they want to make the mage build more viable. And also with the increase into the Hinterland's Blast cooldown that they made, they wanted to boost the damage up too because they didn't think it matched. But the two big ones that we had, well, I guess there's three.
Well,
there's a lot of big ones actually.
This is kind of interesting though, because this balance patch is somewhat controversial because it was released smack dab in the middle of a qualifier.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is a lot of the teams were not super happy about Blizzard releasing balance patches, especially some of these aren't small changes. Some of these are fairly significant, especially for like Kael'thas. And so it's kind of interesting if Blizzard's going to set a precedence of doing balance changes like during qualifiers or even just super close to qualifiers, because a lot of games will have either competitive only servers they play on that may actually be a patch or two behind, or they may actually hold off on balance changes during big esports types events. So it'll be interesting to see if Blizzard is actually setting a precedence for be aware, it could change any time type thing, or if they just really weren't even thinking about it.
It would be kind of frustrating as a pro player personally.
Yeah. For sure.
I don't know. And I mean, I know from League of Legends they have those older servers that are like a patch behind or so, and I don't know, that would make more sense. I don't know.
Yep.
Maybe they just don't have the structure to do that in this game. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I gotta say, I wouldn't mind the older servers and stuff, but I also don't mind this. I would rather this happen than them not make any changes, because it's kind of Blizzard coming out and saying, they do care about their esports, but it's not the most important thing to them. They care about the player base, and people have been harping on some of this overpowered stuff. But I mean, there's other games. I mean, even Riot right now is kind of under fire. Because they're getting rid of, what is it, Dominion?
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever.
I heard about that.
And people are, saying that Riot tends to only care about their esports, and, whatever. If people want to play it, play it. That's why it's so toxic. But
there's definitely a fine line there, but I can totally see it from a pro player's perspective that we're playing in a tournament right now, and all of a sudden, for a tournament, a bunch of stuff is now different.
Well, and everything that you practiced and all the
and that can really throw people off. So my hope is in the future, Blizzard will either give more notice about what is being changed, or at least hold off on things while qualifying type matches are going on.
I hope they don't hold off, but it's throwing things off that people practice, but it's throwing everyone off. I like to see, even though they hate it, I like to see people kept on their toes, and they're all fighting the same changes right now. So technically, they're all at the same advantage still. While maybe not, maybe some team was practicing something really cheeky, and one of these changes came out of nowhere, and it's gonna blow up whatever they're practicing. But let's get back to some of the changes. I know Jaina actually got a pretty nice change. Her basic attack damage, and actually all mage's basic attack damage has been reduced quite a bit, and that's because they want these heroes to they're not really focused on their auto attacks anyways, so they just lowered them, which makes sense. It's more, they're mages, they're more about their spells. But her Frostbolt got a damage increase from 160 to 190 per level, which is really nice for that poke, and then Cone of Cold also got an increase from 189 to 200. So she got a pretty nice little boost there, and I'm excited to see what that does to her, because I've actually been playing a lot of her. Li-Ming and Kael'thas have been my main three in Hero League right now.
Well, yeah, they're tuning down the basic attacks to tune up some of the abilities, especially in her case, and I think it's maybe a reaction to Li-Ming, because she's got such strong abilities and such weak auto attacks that maybe they're just trying to make sure that all the mages feel similar in this regard.
And I think that's kind of what they were saying, is they're mages. They shouldn't be doing a ton of damage with auto attacks. You want the auto attack to be there, of course, but you want the bulk of their damage coming from spells.
Absolutely. And then so we got our KT changes that people have been wanting, and there's some questions going around these right now because right now it's sitting as a nerf, a pretty big nerf, but they've come out and said that they are doing a talent rework on him. So who knows when that will come out, but it could it'll probably make more sense once we see that. But as of right now, his Arcane Barrier talent did get a nerf, which was kind of expected and wanted. The shield amount decreased from 200 to 150 and duration from 6 to 4. The biggest one probably coming in is his Gravity Lapse stun duration reduced from 1.5 to 1 second. And this is a big deal because, you know, one of his big combos was throwing out that Gravity Lapse and then queuing right underneath them. And you had to do that pretty quick already to land that so they wouldn't be able to move out of it. So I don't know if you'll still be able to do that, or if you're going to have to throw your Q down before you Gravity Lapse now. So it'll, you know,
It's
half
going
a
to make
second.
that combo a lot tougher.
Yeah, half a second, not a lot, but it's a third of what this was. So it's really quite a bit.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
it's quite
in stuns, that's half a second. It's huge. I mean, most of the stun nerfs we see is like 0.25 seconds. So, and again, this may be a change that makes sense once we see the new talents come out. Maybe there'll, I don't know what would make sense, but maybe something will.
I mean, honestly, most of the changes to him are really not that bad. The Arcane Barrier they've been hinting at,
Yeah,
it
that's
needed changed because he was too survivable, honestly. You could throw your Gravity Lapse on somebody and get away really easily. You could throw up your Arcane Barrier and just soak up an enormous amount of damage and for how much damage you were throwing out. Phoenix was already on just an absurdly low cooldown. Honestly, like it is one of the lowest cooldowns in the game. It has a massive radius and it has just massive zoning potential. The one people are a little fuzzy on is the Pyroblast one.
Yeah,
it's
that
weird.
one. That one's really weird. I don't know if I think it was a little too much, honestly.
So let's go over what it is, though. The
Yeah.
damage was increased from 730 plus 4% per level to 810 plus 5% per level. So more base, more scaling. But then
Sounds
they
awesome.
also... Yeah, right. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's blow people up.
But-
And then cooldown increased from 50 to 100 seconds. So... And then
That is
also
a
the presence of
super-
mind talent for it, the cooldown reduction for it has increased as well. So
but that's a good one. I mean, because it's increased from 10 to 25 seconds per enemy hero hit. So technically, at 20, you could still get that off cooldown pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But and in the developer comments, they go on to say, you know, they wanted to, like, they figured there was certain situations and stuff where Pyroblast is awesome right now, and I think there's certain situations where it's okay. I still don't think it's
there's
awesome.
too many things that can negate it.
Yeah.
I think.
Well,
Still.
I think
And
they're hoping
Phoenix
for
is too good.
Yeah, for being 100-second cooldown now, like Uther will negate it completely. Tassadar can negate it. There's a lot of things that can still negate that Pyroblast, and so it's gonna be. It was situational before, and it's gonna be even more situational now because of that massive cooldown.
Yeah,
increase.
'cause I don't think anyone took it whenever there was an Uther or, you know, people who could
No.
mitigate it. But now I don't even know if I want to. Like, I loved taking it against the Li-Ming and stuff, but now I don't even know if I want to do that because I mean Phoenix is still awesome and shoot, it was on 40 seconds, which was sweet. 60 seconds, I'll take that. I don't care.
It's
Yeah.
still not bad.
I mean,
but
the 40 seconds made it so you could cast it almost too much, though. Yeah, I was casting that thing just for the
I
heck of
agree.
it.
I mean, you could
sometimes.
cast it just to
Yeah.
get a fountain down or something.
Yeah.
Um,
So at least you have to think about when you cast it a little more now.
Yeah.
And it's still really short. Like, I mean, it's going to be up every group fight still. So it's still really good. Just not crazy good as far as the cooldown goes.
Yeah. So again, we'll see when the talents changes come out for him. But Nova got some changes. TBK here, our Nova expert.
See, and so okay, so they took her snipe stuff again. They bumped up the damage a tad, And then they took the Snipe Master talent. They changed the damage bonus from 5 to 12% per stack, changed the stacks from 10 to 5, and the maximum bonus per stack was increased from 50 to 60. So,
Aren't you excited about that? That sounds
no,
like buffs
not at
to
all.
me.
So it's a buff, but I think fundamentally the Nova rework was bad because it really just took away from what she was originally.
I hear a cat.
Yes,
Is that Sam?
a cat is
Hey,
in
Sam.
here. But it took away fundamentally from what she was originally. She used to be this assassin. Like the rework they did to her just doesn't fit her kit anymore. Like if they want to go this direction with her, I feel like they need to do a full on kit rework and rework her to be a different style of character. But she was this burst assassin. She could punish the squishies on the team and give them something to fear. And she just doesn't have that anymore. And not only that, she lost all of her escapes. Pretty much, she lost her bolt. Her decoys are much weaker now. I don't know. And I've got something about this in my community content shout out a little later, where a guy actually goes through and details what's wrong with the Nova rework and why it really needs to be fixed, or Nova needs to be taken another direction completely. So if you're a big Nova player, it's going to be a good read.
I'm going to disagree. I played quite a bit of Nova over this last week, and I think I'm not going to say she's in a good spot, but
she doesn't have a niche anymore.
I think she does. I think that she can.
Other people do things the same thing much better. Like Li-Ming. Li-Ming is Nova 2.0. She does everything Nova used to do, but does it better.
I think
and
Nova
has
cloak.
I think Nova can still do what she did though. The W build that came out can still wreck, and it's much easier to land. Where I mean, you can increase the range on your W, you can get 2 charges of it, you can get rewind, and I mean, you can absolutely melt somebody with that, and it's much easier to hit your first W because it's not a skill shot. You just click on them, then an auto attack, and then your other W, and then a snipe on a slower target is super easy, and it wrecks. I wrecked people with her this week, and again, I'm not saying it's good changes. For me, I felt I played her better than when I did previously and was much more successful, had higher damage, more killing blows, and her decoys, while overall they may be weaker, the talent that makes them last longer, and this is probably just something that it's hard because it's new, but they are very tricky. There have been several times to where, I mean, I don't remember what the increase is, but I'll ignore it now. Like it's whenever I don't ignore it, I attack it because I'm sure it's the Nova and it's not. And then when I see it and I'm like, that's not the Nova, it's been there for a while, all of a sudden it is. But so I don't know. I feel like she's okay. I can understand, the hardcore Nova players and stuff being upset because she's vastly different.
And that's the thing. I'm going to agree to disagree on this one because she fundamentally, at least to me, and I know a lot of Nova players, there's been some very strong opinions on Reddit, especially recently. She doesn't feel like Nova anymore. It feels like a different character shoved on to what they used to call Nova. And so, just in general, she is isn't nearly as enjoyable for me to play anymore.
Yeah, and that I will give you, that's probably more important because people did spend real money on this hero, and for it to be that big of a change, I can understand people being upset about it. But for people like me, it's not a big deal.
I feel like this should almost have been Widowmaker's kit when Widowmaker was introduced into Heroes of the Storm.
Except we need that grappling hook. Oh,
that's what I'm saying. They almost made a new kit and put it on old Nova, whereas I think most of the changes they made, they should have made the new kit, in this case Widowmaker. I think it would have fit for really, really well, and put this on top of her.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
But let's go ahead. We got 2 more people to go over real quick. Support, Rhaegar got some changes that everyone was kind of expecting. His Ghost Wolf, the basic attack damage reduced from 100 to 75, and Lightning Shield damage reduced from 36 to 30. So
Definitely needed.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And possibly we'll see how that works out. But I mean, he went up like 13.8% in his win rate.
It was
which
pretty.
nuts.
It was pretty insane.
So
He's still going to be super good though. Even
Oh,
after
yeah.
this.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
I think
Like
he's
this-
still got one or two other problems that may need to be addressed.
Mhm.
Specifically, the 8-second protective shield that does damage around it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the main thing that needs to be addressed,
It's
and they didn't really.
ridiculous.
So
Yeah,
But,
and that's
you know.
why it's interesting if you watch some of the pro games last week. A lot of teams were banning Cho'Gall, and you might be like, "What the crap? Why are all these teams banning Cho'Gall?" I actually asked a few of them about it, and they said it's because of Rhaegar. That shield, that 15% max HP shield on an 8-second cooldown on a Cho'Gall is over 1,000 health
Yeah. It's,
later. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
and you're
and
giving
so-
him a damage field around him too. So
Yeah, and a damage field around him. So I mean, I thought it was weird at first, but then it's like that really makes total sense. I wouldn't want to play against that either.
Yeah, we ran some Cho'Gall Rhaegar this week, and it was awesome. The last hero to get a change was Diablo. His Fire Stomp damage reduced from 23, or the Fire Devil talent damage reduced from 23 to 17. But yeah, that's a fairly. I think it's a decent balance patch. You know, again, some people controversial.
was that
but-
Diablo talent the one that made them do this insane siege damage they've been doing lately? Do you know?
Part of it,
Yeah.
yeah,
In
but-
part, yeah.
yeah, that's his fire damage was doing a ton. That's why, like, you'd see Diablo's topping hero damage.
Oh,
It's
and
like-
siege damage. It was nuts.
Yeah, and siege
like you'd be
damage,
playing
yeah.
on like Nazebo or someone and then losing siege damage to a Diablo, and you'd be like,
Yeah.
what?
Oh,
yeah.
we forgot to mention Thrall too.
Oh yes.
This is actually, I mean, I don't think it's going to affect him much, but it was definitely just a slight, you're doing just a little too good guy type thing.
Yeah. Basic attack damage decrease and then a 10-second increase to his sundering heroic. So.
Yeah, not a ton, but I think that's a good change.
But again, we'll have the patch notes in the show notes, so you guys can go and check those out if you want to. But it is time for
Hero of the Week.
That's right. So this week, once again, is the Star Princess of Pain herself. The nickname I just dubbed 5 minutes before the show because it's what I can think of. But
She does have a skin.
I know,
so
that's where it
it's
came
very
from.
appropriate.
So this hero is amazing right now, overpowered. Probably is understatement. But one of the things I really love about her is she has so many different builds. People are coming up with, and I think they are all viable. I think this is a hero that can fit several play styles, and you know, whatever your play style is, there's going to be a build that fits you. She was kind of, you know, deemed to be a hard, very high skill cap hero when she was going to be launched, and I don't think she really met that. I think she's much
No.
easier to play than
She
they,
did not.
led to believe.
For sure. Well, and there's so many builds, and the cool thing too about her builds is that every single talent in there is a really specific reference to either like an augmentation of an ability or like an item in Diablo 3, and it's just so fun. I feel as we go through this, we're going to go over some, of course, alternative options, but I think you could change any of them up at any time almost and still be very viable at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
So
because she's a little on the
she's so
strong side.
situational.
Yeah. You
Well,
can, you
yeah,
can
it
just
could,
change it up.
that could be, but I think her talent tree is incredibly well built. At the
Yes.
same time.
For sure.
So the build that we're going over this week is actually a build that I came up with on day one that she came out. And, you know, again, this may not be the build for everyone, but there's so many different ones. And I have had great success with this build. I have pulled off numbers that other builds have pulled off several times. And I think it's good for new players playing her because it's much harder to kill. I call it the high damage defense build. And I think that this build can almost fit every situation and do just about the same, to whereas other builds are more specific. So I really hope you guys try this one out. It's super fun to play, and again, can just wreck faces. But we'll start out with her combat trait and ability is multi. What do we have for her combat trait?
Combat trait is Critical Mass, where getting a takedown will refresh the cooldown on all of your abilities. And it's nuts. Like, I gotta say, though, it's kind of easy to forget about, and I actually didn't get the full feel of it down until I played some AI matches as her, just because, I had some dailies to clear out and that sort of thing. And I mean, against beginner AI, you're really trying to do everything you can to just maximize your siege damage, right? But part of that in AI games, with her anyway, is killing the other bots, because I mean, they will reset your cooldowns, let you get off another arcane orb, that sort of thing. And doing that in a couple of AI games, I really actually got a better feel for how to remember, okay, I killed it with an arcane orb, I can pop another one off right now. Like, that takes your brain, or at least my brain, maybe it's just me, a second to really adjust to and get the most out of. And once you do, man, night and day, just chewing through the enemy team in the right scenario.
Yeah, and I think this build we're going over actually takes full advantage of this, because you can be a chaser and super aggressive. As soon as a team fight tilts in your team's direction, you can go in there and finish everyone off. No one can get away from you. And it's super satisfying just to be teleporting around and wreak havoc.
And not only that, if you see you're against Vikings or Murky, then just smile and laugh maniacally to yourself.
Yeah, I feel like there's got to be some sort of change or something to that. Maybe to where a kill on them decreases the cooldown by half or something. Not a full reset.
Murky is, having Murky die to them is just, it's so incredibly hurtful for the team that has Murky on it.
Yeah.
Because it affects not only future hero damage, but just future siege. Like, if you're laning against a Murky and you get a few kills off, you're landing some arcane orbs and really pushing your lane. So yeah, there's an interesting tip. We might go over this later, but if you see a Murky on the enemy team and you're playing as Li-Ming, just keep following him from lane to lane, because you get some value out of that
forever.
For sure.
But let's hop into the abilities for her Q. We have Magic Missiles. It's 20 mana, 3-second cooldown. Fire 3 missiles towards an area, each dealing 152.15 plus 3.5% damage per level to first enemy hit. And again, I'm sure you guys have seen this, but it comes out where kind of one comes out from the center of her and 2 more come out from the sides. And you can kind of pick the point that they're going to intersect or cross at. So there's a lot of control with them. And it's a really cool ability. What do we have for her WTBK?
Her W is Arcane Orb, a 50 mana cost on a 10-second cooldown. You fire an orb that powers up as it travels, dealing 154.5 plus 3% per level damage to the first enemy hit. The amount of damage dealt is increased the further it travels, up to 463.5 plus 3% per level damage. So this is really interesting to note, because it will detonate on the first thing it hits. There is there's no different, like, if it touches like the edge of a minion, it's detonating.
Yeah.
So you have to be really, really careful when you shoot this, that nothing gets in the way of where you're trying to get it to. But man, at max range, it's silly.
I've found that when you're just wave clearing with it, some heroes it's better to even fire off whatever ability as the wave is coming in to get them all in line. It's the opposite with her. I think it's better to kind of like peel out a little bit to one of the sides and just aim it into the center of a crowd where you know that end reticle is going to hit a few, and that's at least a tip to getting the most out of the W as far as just pushing power.
Yeah, I've actually found that to get the most, at least especially before us of Johan, is while they're coming out in a line still, if you get to the side of them, there's typically a gap to where you can get it right in the middle and it hits most of them. But you have to be from the side. It's really weird positioning, which I actually think, this is one of those abilities. Yes, it hits hard, but it's also super hard to get it to do what you want to do. So one of the ways on countering her is, keeping an eye where she's at and not letting her, get this off.
Making sure there are things in between you
and if you
her.
see it coming, you charge. You're the tank. Charge at it. Get closer. It'll do less damage to you. It won't hit your team. And it's probably the harder skill cap ability for her.
And the magic missiles also hit the first thing that they encounter as well. So anything gets blocked. So.
And then for her final ability, multi, what do we have?
Her last ability is Teleport, which on a 5-second cooldown, teleport a short distance instantly. And on paper, if you haven't played Li-Ming or seen her played yet, it might sound like the most underwhelming one, but it's perhaps the most, in my mind, overwhelming one. Like, this thing is so good. And in fact, our build that we're going over tonight is kind of a teleport-centric build.
Yes, and it's amazing. I'm so excited.
It's not quite Zeratul distances.
No.
It's a pretty small cone, but it's big enough that it is super annoying to try and chase her down.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely enough.
And you have to be like right up against a wall or something to get to the other side. That's how small it is, at least to start with. But then let's go into the heroic abilities for her first one, and the best one. We have Disintegrate. This is 80 mana, 20-second cooldown. You channel a powerful beam, dealing 462 plus 5% damage over 2.5 seconds to enemies while they're in it. The direction of the beam changes with your mouse cursor position, so it's a lot like Lightning Breath, except it moves a lot faster. You can change directions super quick, so it's pretty easy to just kind of hit what you want with it. And then the second one, we have, what do we have, TBK?
We have Wave of Force, 80 mana cost with a 20-second cooldown. Knock all enemies from an area and deal 168 plus 5% per level damage, which sounds really cool, and it is really cool, except for our level 4 that we'll get to shortly.
Yeah, and okay, I'm super excited for this build.
Oh yeah.
So her play style is going to change a little bit throughout the build, and I'll kind of explain how that goes as we get new abilities and stuff. But for the level 1, we'll go ahead and hop right in. And for this, we're going Aether Walker, which if you haven't taken damage in the last 5 seconds, teleport costs no mana, and its cooldown is decreased by 2 seconds. This is the most amazing thing in the world for catching the Monkey King. I'm just saying. You will catch the Monkey King with this.
It's true.
So that's why we pick it for this build. No, it's fairly underwhelming at first. It's good for if you're wanting to push hard at the beginning of the game, which is great. You got lots of escapes. You see someone coming, you teleport once, and if you need it again, it's up in 2 seconds instead of 5. But other than that, not a whole lot that you're going to get out of it yet. So it's cool. And I know there's some mana talents to where if you're under 50% mana, then your mana regeneration is increased by 100. There's one that
and that one's Astral Presence, and that's the other really popular one because it does allow you to spam pretty readily.
Yeah, and then the other one that regeneration globes increase by 100% mana and grant 10% ability power for 20 seconds. Also good, but with this build, you won't need those necessarily, and I'll explain why further on. But level 4 multi, what are we going with?
Level 4, we are going with the greatest one that they have, most likely to get nerfed, S of Johann.
Yeah.
This thing, when Arcane Orb damages enemies, they are pulled towards its center. So, and I just noticed on Heroes Fire, they used the wrong its. It's not supposed to be it apostrophe S. It's
That's
ITS.
So
fix that one, Forecourt. But anyway, so this is really good because it's a displacement on top of an already fairly large, highly damaging ability, and it's hard to even describe until you really do it, because I didn't at first. When I first tried her out, I was trying like Triumvirate and some other stuff.
Yeah.
And, I was messing around. No, I will not go back from S of Johann until they've changed it, which I know they will because it's way too good right now.
Yeah,
and they've already said they're going to. It basically gives you a slightly smaller version of Wave of Force, your ultimate ability at level 4.
Yeah, and it's like Condemn on Johanna. pretty much a smaller version of that.
And the
It
thing
is a
is,
form of
this is
CC.
like a huge interrupt on a basic ability on a very short cooldown.
Yeah. And but it stacks really well, not only with this build, but with a lot of other your teammates. It's great for Jaina, sucking people back into the center of her blizzard. It's great for Kel'Thas. It's great for everything.
Yeah, and I mean there are other arcane orb talents
Yeah.
that you can take, other builds you can go, and it's super good with some of those too. So
But we'll go to level 7 TPK. What are we going with here?
So for this level, we are going Calamity. Teleport does 309 plus 3% per level damage to enemies near your destination. So this is offensive teleport,
that's right.
pretty much. Yep.
So this is where you can kind of start changing things up. Prior to this, you're using your Q and your E or Q and your W for damage, and pushing lanes, which is what you want to do kind of early on because your range is insane and you can do some crazy siege damage out of the range of the towers. And you're also having to use your W for things such as like camps and wave clear. Now you no longer have to use, and I would not suggest using your W for any of that, except for certain situations, because now your teleport, if you're helping out with a camp, teleport in does a lot of damage to things. Maybe you'll use a W to suck everything closer in immediately. But then you can teleport in. If somebody else is there, you're not the target, so your teleport is reduced to 2 seconds. You back out, you Q, you teleport back in, you back out, you Q. You can just repeat those over and over. Neither of them cost much mana, and it clears camps super fast, and you didn't have to use that 50 mana ability. So that right there is also, kind of that first talent paying off and becoming a mana saving talent right there.
Yeah, and you can secure kills with this, which is so
Yes.
fun. Like, usually a little brazen, but man, so fun when it happens. And
Yeah.
I will say, though, that I tried your build out for the first time last night in its entirety. I mixed and matched before. But but I totally, like, by level 6, I was already in the mindset that I could do this. I don't know why it didn't click with me that I hadn't hit 7 yet. So I totally got killed one time thinking I was going to do a Calamity teleport in and finish someone off, and no, they just kind of finished me off instead. So something to think about.
This once you
What
get
can you
this,
do?
you can start using it offensively in fights, but you still want to be careful because you are squishy and can get melted down. However, it's a great finishing move, and again, it's great for chasing someone down that's low health, but you still want to be a little careful. We'll go to level 10 TBK. What are we going with here?
So, as we mentioned earlier, we are going to go with Disintegrate here. S of Johan, pretty much, at least at this point, and like we said, this is likely to change. So, at some point, we may do a quick recap after the changes are done to kind of see what we need to just shift a few things on. But yeah, Wave of Force just isn't really needed with S of Johan. Like, it's just so good. And Disintegrate, it's a huge beam. It moves super fast, and especially if you get that kill and get that cooldown reset, it's just so much damage.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Wave of Force is kind of underwhelming too, just in general. And I love that because when I saw Li-Ming on paper, I was in love with Disintegrate. I was just begging the heavens that would be the standard pick. And
I mean, that's like
I
the
hope they never change that.
quintessential wizard spell, right?
It's
I mean,
actually
I
the
used
spell
while I
that
was
feels.
leveling.
Yeah, it's the spell that feels most like the D3 wizard, I think, out of any of them. So super fun, and yeah, don't change it.
Yeah, and so this, it's great for everything. It's 20-second cooldown. It does cost quite a bit of mana, but you can use it. It's great wave clear, pushing stuff. It has a good range. But in the team fights, it's still great for, leading off with your S of Johan, suck the enemy team in, then go to your missiles, and then Disintegrate while everyone's still bunched up. And then by then, at least somebody should be low enough that you can teleport in, finish them off, and all your stuff's reset again. You can teleport back out and redo that, or you can just keep teleporting around and killing everyone, and it's super fun.
And we mean everyone.
Yeah.
Like, you can just swipe them all out.
I've seen Li-Ming wipe up a 1v5.
Yeah.
Like, it happened in a game. I was in. It was ridiculous.
Oh, and by the way, resetting Disintegrate is another one that you don't always think of in the thick of a team fight, but yeah, I mean it's also a great one to pick off that Zagara that's just barely going to get out of range, and that's really fun when that happens too. The long distance zap.
And this is, again, it's 80 mana, so it costs quite a bit. So with this build, again, you do have to be a little bit more conscious with your spells, concentrating on your Q and your E as your primary spells you're casting the most, and then your W and your heroic are just kind of more supplementary, to whereas in other builds, those are probably a little bit more prominent. Then we'll go to level 13, and Multi, what are we going with here?
13, I'm pretty pumped for. It's Illusionist. You increased the teleport range by 50%, and if you lose more than 15% of your health at once, its cooldown is instantly refreshed. This cannot happen more than once every 4 seconds. And this is straight out of D3. Like, this is one of the survivability talents that you can take. Not really talents. I guess they're called runes, perhaps, over there. Where, you can, after you've taken so much damage, you can blink away for free. And it's cool. I originally had tried out Cannoneer, the one where when you use an ability, you increase your next basic attack by 75%. And then cause it to deal ability damage, stacks up to 3 times. And that's pretty cool. I think that has its place. But, I mean, if you've already sunk enough into the teleport as we have by this point in the build, this is super strong. And once I started taking it, I didn't really turn back. And I've never taken Glass Cannon, the other one. Have you guys tried it?
Yeah, I have. And it's pretty big in some of the other builds. And
it can be, especially if your team can defend you.
Yeah.
It can be just silly.
So how paper thin are you, though, when you have... Because, okay, if you guys don't know, Glass Cannon increase your ability power by 15%, but decrease your max health by 15%. Like, are you just super paper thin if you get caught with this?
You're pretty squishy. But again, if you're playing with good positioning and you have your teleport, it's even an unbuffed teleport, you're pretty...
Still able to
yeah.
Okay.
And then level 16... This is where things start getting crazy. I mean, things already started getting crazy, but even crazier now. We're going with Diamond Skin. When you teleport, gain 25% of your maximum health as a shield for 4 seconds. So this is when you can really start getting aggressive in the team fights with your teleport to not only finish people off, but after you do your what's the ball called? Arcane Orb, and then your magic missiles, your disintegrate and stuff. Then you can teleport in, even if it's not going to kill somebody, and then get back out and reset your stuff. Your shield is pretty substantial, and it's great, and I mean great, for those Illidan's, those Zeratools, those people who think that they can kill you. Let me tell you something, they can't. And I love acting like you're scared and stuff, turning around and running away. Then as soon as you drag them out of the safety of their team, just turn on them and own them, because that shield even it does the damage, and then you don't even have to worry about the distance from your orb and stuff. Even if they're right in front of you, just hit them with it. It pauses them a little bit, your Qs, and just keep teleporting around them, and it's going to... I mean, you can 1v1 darn near anybody if you're smart about it and get used to your rotations and stuff. So it makes you silly. Near impossible to kill.
It is silly. It
I
is
just gotta
silly
say right
and it
now,
is frustrating.
It really is. If she's even half this good come time, she's going to be one of the best characters in Lords of the Lane, period. Like, I don't see how she would.
She has the siege, she has... Which...
The...
I will...
Survivability.
Yeah, let me say right now, her siege damage is insane, and I do think one of the changes that needs to happen is her doing 25% reduced damage to structures, probably.
She literally, and this was timed out, she can literally take a tower from out of range from 100 to nothing at level 1 in 20 to 25 seconds.
Yeah, it's...
That's insane.
I wouldn't even mind if they did 75% reduced damage to structures, because that's not what she's supposed to be known for. She's supposed to be known as a DPSer, but it's insane. Okay, so we got level 20. Things are getting even crazier. TBK, what are we going with here?
So crazy. Tal Rasha's Elements. Your abilities benefit from 20% bonus damage as long as they aren't cast twice in a row. What the crap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, since this
Mind
build,
blown, character blown up.
since you're concentrating on your Q and your E, which are both, if you're doing them right, a 2 second and a 3 second cooldown, you shouldn't be casting two things in a row. So you can, even before this, you can solo camps amazingly by yourself. But with this, camps don't stand a chance. Bosses go down super fast, and again, people just melt in team fights because it's pretty much like glass cannon. It's even a better buff than that, and you don't lose the health. Granted, those would stack, but
Well, they're both 3 second cooldowns, the Q and the E.
okay,
The
yes.
reduction reduces it by 2, not 2.
Yeah,
So to 3.
but it's a lot of damage, and so
Yeah.
as I've said before, there are other builds, kind of glass cannon type builds and stuff that do a ton of damage. This build can do that. I've had several games over 100k hero damage. However, that doesn't really happen until later on, especially like pretty much between 13 and 16 is where you can really start getting into the nitty and gritty, especially after 16, and the damage is absolutely insane. So.
But this build does up your survivability a lot.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's-
And that can pay off dividends because, I mean, obviously, if you're dead, you're not doing damage. So
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if you're not dying, the team's not getting the experience for it. With this build, I don't know exact numbers, but I would say probably 75% of my games I'm dying less than 2 times. Some games 1 or 0 times because
I
unless
can believe
something goes horribly wrong or I face check a bush or something, you just don't die. You can get away, and even if you face check a bush, a lot of times you can get away unless the enemy team's just in the right spot. But yeah, so I hope you guys check out this build. It's a very different feel from her glass cannon build. It's more hands-on, aggressive, and again, just you can chase people down with your teleports on short cooldown. No one is safe. Hide your kids, hide your wife. The Star Princess of Pain is out there and coming for you.
Coming to town.
But let's hop over to heroes counters to look at.
and hide your husbands.
Yes. Hide your kids,
Yeah.
hide your wife and your husbands. To look at some strengths, synergies, and counters, if there are any, against Li-Ming.
Nope.
So Li-Ming can be strong against. We got Sergeant Hammer, Murky, Lost Vikings, Raynor, Malfurion. Sergeant Hammer, all of her abilities outrange Sergeant Hammer's attack cone.
Which is, again, in siege mode.
Yeah, in siege mode.
Right.
So
Which is ridiculous.
you can get a Q off, then a W with your S of Johan to stun her, and then another Q, and then a teleport in, and she's probably dead. Like if you're playing Sergeant Hammer and you see a Li-Ming, you have to be insanely careful, and you probably don't want to split or solo push. So
You probably want to go to a different lane.
yeah, and
Switch
then
to some.
the Murky Lost
already
Vikings. We
discussed.
discussed that they reset stuff,
Yeah.
and it's Malfurion cannot keep up with her burst damage at all.
And neither can Raynor, with his. And well, that's one of the reasons Raynor's on here because of his lower base health. A lot of times she can burst him before his trait fully kicks in and can actually kill him that way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I've done that.
the W will trigger it, and then if you follow it up immediately with the Q, it can't out heal it. We'll go to synergies next. TBK, what do we got here?
So, synergies are weak against.
Synergies.
Synergies. Okay. So, good team with Malfurion, ETC, Johanna, Rhaegar, Kael'thas. So, Malfurion, I can see because he can give her mana back, and she uses a lot of mana, especially if you say don't take Astral Presence at level 1. ETC's got the lockdown, makes it way easier to hit your stuff. Johanna's got the same type of thing, slows, lockdown. Rhaegar just brings the heals, brings the shields, and is just overall super aggressive. And Kael'thas, I mean, they're mage buddies, right?
Yeah,
Mage
and
buddies.
actually, Jaina's a little lower on the list than I would expect, but she's also a great synergy.
Any of the mages, if you work out the sequence so perfectly, you just destroy. For sure. And by the way, this is a good point to mention that Dustin Browder did say that we can consider Li-Ming to be the arcane mage of the game.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
So we got all three. Got
Yep.
all three now.
And then weaknesses, Multi, what do we have?
None of them, just not weak to anyone. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so on the list here in Heroes Counters, we have Zeratul, Greymane, Illidan, the Butcher, and Lunara. And Lunara's at the bottom of this list, but I've had a couple games where she really can be that. She's got that greater spell shield to block a lot of your stuff. Just for some reason, if she lands some of her super long distance auto attacks, as a Li-Ming, you can teleport away, but she's gonna catch you most of the time. Get a couple more in, and that poison just kind of whittles you down enough to where you tend to change the way you play, especially if the Lunara is pretty good, and if their team's ahead, it's kind of hard to come back when you're fighting against one. So I definitely agree with that one. Some of these others I haven't fully encountered yet. Like Zeratul's at the top of the list with a huge amount of votes, but I mean, is he really able to burst her down that much before she can blink away?
I think the majority of this list, so the teleport build is not the most popular build there is. A lot of people love the glass cannon because they love the high damage. And when your teleport's on 5-second cooldown, you're not getting the buffs from it. If they can get back to you, you can be in some trouble if your team doesn't peel for you immediately. However, with this build, honestly, once, early to mid game, yes, these guys are good counters and stuff, but once you get late game, there's not really any reason to be scared of any of these heroes.
So the biggest thing, if you are playing Lunara against her, Leaping Strike is huge because it can negate a lot of her distance, a lot of her teleport, a lot of her getaway type stuff. Butcher, you want to go Lamb for the slaughter. You want to go
Trapper.
Lamb to the slaughter because that is one of the few things that will completely lock her down, and
I've
your team
teleported out
can
of it.
absolutely. You can't.
I have.
You're not supposed to be able to. Unless
You're
there's
not
some kind of
supposed to be
bug.
able to.
Interesting.
Unless it's a bug, you're not supposed to be able to teleport out of it. Yeah. So
yeah.
you may not have actually been chained or something, but if the Land of the Slaughter should chain her. So if you are Butcher, that is she is probably your highest priority target for that, because your team will then get a few seconds to blow her up. As was mentioned with Lunara, the greater spell shield is a big deal. Greymane can do a ton of burst, and especially with a few talents, stick to her pretty well, especially with increased range on his Q and Werewolf and Morgan form, which is really good. Notice, I'm going to harp on this a little bit. Nova is nowhere to be seen on this list,
despite being a cloaker.
and so and that's because of her rework. She is not a good Li-Ming counter right now.
Granted, the only way with her build, the only way she would be a good counter anyways is if she could one-shot Li-Ming.
Well, and Old Nova could actually, I would put Old Nova as a counter to Li-Ming, and I would put her fairly high. New Nova does not have the burst. New Nova is much more sustained damage than she is burst damage, and so that's one of the reasons she is not on this list.
Yeah. And maybe I am super biased to this build, so maybe that's just why I say it. Because even Old Nova, you get hit with a pinning shot, you immediately teleport, you get a shield, you get hit with a snipe, the shield's going to mitigate some of it, then your cooldown is either off cooldown or it's reset because of the 15% damage, you teleport away again, and you're just
well,
not gonna get killed.
I mean, all you're saying is basically she's super OP.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And
right.
that's honestly, that's what it is. She's incredibly strong right now, and for the amount of damage she does, the risk reward factor for her is super low risk, super high reward right now.
Yeah.
Which again, begs a couple questions. One, how do they not see this coming with the PTR testing? Number two,
Or regular testing.
yeah, or even just as we are now. And number two, I don't know. We've heard about them coming out with new heroes to be tuned a little bit lower so that they can raise them in future balance patches and thus, bring them into the meta a little bit more comfortably. They did not do that here. They started her off way at the top, and now we're going to have to somehow address. And frankly, yeah, you'll be able to play around with some of the damage, some of the cooldowns maybe, but I don't know how you don't make her anything other than super, super strong without totally changing how some of these abilities work in her kit, because it is just, it's good.
Yeah. And I think that's what's going to happen. One of the big things I really think needs to happen is I don't think she should get cooldown resets from characters that don't grant a full death.
Like I was saying earlier, maybe because actually I would be okay with completely negating that, but I also wouldn't mind
because that only affects
like a half
3 things. That affects Murky, Lost Vikings, and Misha.
Yeah, or like
that's all it affects.
Even a half, reducing your cooldown by half or something would make a huge difference.
Yeah, it's just too much and that's the hard thing when you have all these special type of characters in the game, like these edge cases, like Murky, like Lost Vikings. When you introduce mechanics like this, sometimes it's really hard to really predict all the edge cases that will happen. But they're gonna have to do something.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see what it actually is. If next week is Li-Ming week again, because they changed her enough that it's just like, well, guys, all the information we told you is now butt kiss. Like it's just like completely worthless. So it'll be interesting to see if they just move a few talents around, or if they actually do something a little more. I don't know.
Drastic.
Drastic.
Drastic. We'd get to cover her again, and I'd be okay with
I know.
that.
That'd be super funny. That's what I was saying.
But yeah, so that's going to do it for the Hero of the Week this week. It's, again, super fun. She's super overpowered right now. Lots of different builds to do, but I urge you to try this one. I think it's super fun. I think you guys will enjoy it as well. Anyone who has tried it that I've suggested it to, I haven't heard anything bad about it. So let's go ahead. Yeah, awesome. It makes me happy. It was my first build.
One final. Oh, yes. And you did put it up on Heroes Fire.
I did. And then somebody else put the same build up a day later, and it blew up.
It's okay, Multi.
So it goes.
Or it's okay, Gizmo. We're consoling you right now. Pat. They're there.
Salt room.
One last tip that I do like to mention now, especially as a tank, because I do play warrior characters a lot. Spell Shield with her is very important. I know a lot of times most people don't take Spell Shield. Some of the pros do in some of the games, especially if double mages is being ran. But I feel, at least in her current state, Spell Shield is worth it, regardless.
Yeah, that's true. Let's go ahead and move on to community content this week, though, TBK.
So this week's community content is actually about 2 characters near and dear to my heart. Starting off, these are both Reddit posts. They're both very, very well thought out Reddit posts. And the first one is actually about Chen. And it's entitled, My Thoughts on Why Chen is Somewhat Hard to Play /Understand/Balance. And Miles CW actually goes into a really long, detailed, these are Chen's builds. And this is why things are a problem, and this is why it's hard to balance stuff. And there's actually a Blizzard reply up on top. Liz Johnsy is one of the technical designers for Heroes of the Storm, and he actually posted a thank you. This is a really interesting post, and then he posts some stuff on the feedback because apparently he actually worked on Chen initially. So if you're a big Chen fan, it's a really, really good read. Definitely check that one out. And then, as I alluded to earlier, by Blazing Rain, entitled Nova's Rework is a Failure, not because it's undertuned, but because her new direction clashes with her core design. And that's kind of one of the things that I was getting at as well. I mean, the first paragraph, by now it's pretty obvious the new Nova is extremely undertuned, which, yes, and that's one of the things they were trying to address a little bit in this balance patch. I don't see much disagreement on that, and that can always be fixed with numbers adjustments, just like Rhaegar's new design can be brought into line with numbers adjustments as well. The real problem with Nova's rework is on a much more basic level, and one that won't be solved until she's reworked again. Her new talent design no longer accentuates the design of her basic kit or fantasy, but rather tries to force her down a different route that she just doesn't fit. To compare to Rhaegar again, this rework is like his earlier rework, the one that came with Brightwing's rework, which turned him into a boring heel bot, except that it's even worse. And so then it kind of goes on and lists a lot of the stuff that I talked about while we were talking about the balance patch for Nova. It's not that her kit is bad. It's that her kit was made so she no longer feels like Nova. And so it's a really, really good read, especially if you're a big Nova fan. I'm in complete agreement with the post, and I really hope Blizzard will address it in some way.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of funny. I think we've talked more about Nova on the Li-Ming episode than we did Li-Ming. But that's all right. That's all right.
She's near and dear to my heart.
I get it.
Yeah, she's my first love.
Excellent.
Don't tell your wife that.
Well, those
First video game.
those will be in the show notes as well. One community content shout out I want to do, just because I'll probably do one every time they release something new, is there's another Carbot series animation for Heroes of the Dorm.
Yes.
Which is pretty good. It's not the best, but it's pretty good.
There was also a fairly new Carbot episode as well.
Was there? Did I miss
I
one?
don't remember which one it was. All I remember is I was just watching the Uther Artanis one again, and that one just slays me every time.
So good.
Try drinking from a fountain. It's like you're the Uther player. You're that guy. Oh my
gosh. That's one of my favorite, and all the ones with Nazebo in it are great too, just because of the voice. But that's about going to do it for this week's episode. Multi, why don't you tell us where we can be reached?
We can certainly be reached in-game by typing /join space LOTS. We're going to be on Twitter at Lords of the Storm, or we are presently on Twitter, I should say. We also have a Facebook page, facebook.com/Lords of the Storm podcast, which I got to slow my train for a second there. I loved your Li-Ming post, Ryan, and I think more people need to check this out because it's at least something to maybe give you a chuckle in the middle of your week, if not another place where you can chat with us about the game and stuff. Of course, you can also send us emails, lordsofthestorm@outlook.com. Certainly, if you're tuning into the stream, you're already here, but we do now have on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/lordsofthestorm, live shows Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Central. So something else to check out there. And, of course, we're part of the Zord Network, www.zordnetwork.com. And you can join our Discord channel, which is pretty important. That's the sticky to it is at the top of our Twitter feed at Lords of the Storm. Yeah, exactly. So there's where the link is
listed on our Twitch channel as well. If you want links to any of the stuff, for sure. And yes, of course, there's also the Lords of the Storm Patreon. If you guys feel the need, you can go to patreon.com/Lords of the Storm. Give whatever you feel is appropriate, and if you feel nothing is appropriate, that's fine too. We're going to keep on going on, but we do appreciate any help that we can get. And the other thing you can do to help us out is leave us 5-star iTunes and Stitcher reviews. And there's one, there's a Stitcher review from Cannibal Bob that, if you're wondering, Cannibal Bob, why it's taking us so long to get to this one. Okay, first of all, we don't check the Stitcher ones as often.
I used to, but I just forgot. And he messaged me this week. We were talking, and he was hey, I left you guys a review on Stitcher. And then I remembered because I said something about this like 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh, guys, we have a Stitcher review from like a month ago. And he was like, I was like, I'm so sorry. I am going to get it on this week, I promise. So apologize.
So let's read it in its entirety.
Yes, we'll read it in its entirety.
Okay. So he says, this is from Cannibal Bob. He says, perfect show for a Heroes player. Very informative show with a group of entertaining guys. I love the community they have built by creating a Discord channel for players all over the world to gather together and play Heroes of the Storm. Also, their Heroes reviews are very well done and give you great insight into the hero, and most of the time convinces you that you have a new favorite hero. Looking forward to more lots in 2016. And that last part's funny because this is in December, and now we've got at least a month's worth of 2016 under our belt. So,
But thank you
yeah.
anyways, Cannibal
Oh
Bob.
yes,
That was
It was so good. We wanted to save it for our 50th episode.
That's it. That's what it was.
Yep, that was totally the plan.
Good.
But you can also reach us individually. You can find me on Twitter at Gizmozord and on Twitch at twitch.tv/Gizmozord. You can also find me every few weeks on Convert to Raid, the World of Warcraft podcast for Raiders, and on BlizzPro Weekly, the YouTube weekly news show for all things Blizzard Entertainment. Multi, where can you be reached?
I'm on Twitter at Multizord. Also on my Overwatch show, The Cavalry, where on Twitter you can follow us at The Cavalry Show. Needless to say, we got a lot to talk about this week, and we're actually pushing the episode back a little bit just to make sure we get enough time to play around with the beta a little bit. So I'm on that BlizzPro Weekly show you mentioned as well, and I've got a Hearthstone blog, hearthstone.zordnetwork.com.
Excellent. And TBK.
You can find me on Twitter at TBKZord and on twitch.tv/TBKZord, where I usually stream some of our Monday night custom games that start around 8 Central. There's always a ton of people that come out to that. If you're looking to play some ARAMs or just some fun custom games, join our Discord, jump on around that time. There's always a ton of people. It's a super fun time. And I also cast Chair League games as well, sometimes Monday nights and Thursday nights as well. So that's always a lot of fun.
Excellent.
Yeah, I went to the Monday night games this week, and man, I want to come a lot more because it was
You
just
should.
really
Customs,
fun.
yeah, they're so fun.
The
I wasn't
ARAMs are
feeling
so
well, so I had to step out a little early, but always a good time. One other thing.
FYI, the Carbot. I found it.
Okay.
Rexar was the
Oh,
latest
yeah,
Carbot.
yeah, yeah.
I don't think I've seen that one. I mean,
If you haven't seen that one, it's really fun.
He's abusing Misha. Okay. That's a good one too. I forgot.
Sorry, derailed. Go
One
ahead.
other thing I wanted to mention is our YouTube channel. If you guys would go and subscribe to that, we would love you, because they have a new thing now. It's where you can't get a custom URL until you have at least 100 subscribers. So we don't really have we can't just say go to youtube.com/Lords of the Storm. It's just a whole random bunch of numbers and letters. So if you guys could do that, we would love it, just so we can get that custom URL. It'll be easier to find. But if you just search for Lords of the Storm, you will find it on there. And we'll have all of our VODs of the shows and tournaments and training sessions and all sorts of stuff that we're hoping to do in the future. So we'd really appreciate that. Any last...
The link's also on our Twitch
Yes.
page as well. I got all the links for all this stuff. So if you want to know where anything is, just about everything we do is on our twitch.tv/Lords of the Storm right under the channel.
And do you guys have any last minute shout-outs? TBK?
yeah.
Multi?
Not that I can think of.
I'm going to give a shout-out to Dunk Train.
Oh, yeah.
I ran into him today, actually, after work, playing some Overwatch, and played about 4 or 5 games with him. And he had my back. I had his. It was good times.
I did run into Josh of Gaming.
Yeah, there's...
He casted some of the qualifiers and is casting some of the qualifiers, actually. I ran into him in Overwatch some, too, when we played a few games.
Yeah, you're seeing,
Shout out to him.
I think the player pool's still a lot smaller than we think, because I run into a lot of the
think
same
you're
people.
right.
And like we the CTR guys were playing together after the show last night, and we ran into Solar Flare, who is one of the old hosts on there that works for Blizzard now. So it was good times. But that is going to do it for this week's episode. We hope you guys enjoy. Try out some Li-Ming before she gets nerfed. And we will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Goodbye, everybody.